Good morning, everyone. It is 10 a.m. and we'll kick off and get going. My name is Etienne Grobler. My colleague Peter had a medical emergency this morning, which he had to deal with, and he did ask me to take over. I believe this session is being recorded, or at least that's what the webinar software is telling me. And I'll do my level best to guide us through this and demo the product for you. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Typically, when busy with the demo, I don't really glance over at that much, but I'll remind myself to take pause and answer any questions as we go through. Again, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to speak to the North49 Customer Portal this morning. I'll just start with a brief slide introduction, and then we'll take a look at the product. So first of all, customer self-service is now an expectation. It is almost unthinkable for us to think that we could do business with a bank that doesn't allow us online banking, and so on. And it has become known as the Amazon effect. And I'm pretty sure everyone here has their own examples. For me, I discovered I could buy dog food off Amazon at exactly the same price that I'm paying for it at PetSmart. But I would have to drive 25 kilometers to PetSmart and 25 back to go buy it. And Amazon's just going to drop it off at my door. And so that was the end of me purchasing from PetSmart, and I'm just getting it from Amazon. That personal experience that we're having in life, that's transitioning over into business. We expect the same kind of service from the business as we do in our personal life. Why would I be able to buy personal effects for myself from Amazon, but the company that I do business with doesn't allow online transaction? We also expect 24/7 access, and that becomes very pronounced if you do business with companies outside of your time zone. And the portal, for example, we have portal companies running up in Australia, which do business mostly with North America, the Bahamas, and so on. And so being up 24/7 has become a necessity. How does it translate into business for you? Reduce administrative overhead, get paid faster, eliminate paper, save time and money. I know these are kind of buzz terms, but we've just published a customer success story from a pharmaceutical company called Carvajal Pharmacy. You can probably find that on LinkedIn or contact us, and we'll be happy to send you a copy of that. And they speak of all of these points, specifically that they have reduced the internal administration around collecting payments to the point where they freed up one full-time staff member, and they took that staff member and repointed her into customer service. And so they're almost getting double bang for goodness here, in that customers are paying online, and specifically in the pharmacy industry, where mom and dad might be getting a prescription monthly and the account is being paid by the kid in Toronto, or whatever the case might be. And they pointed this person at customer service. And so now the customers are getting a more personalized service from the pharmacy, as well as being able to self-help themselves on the internet. And so despite the fact that those are, primarily buzzwords, and I recognize that, we are truly convinced that plays out in business the way we expect it to. Here's a fairly famous quote, which we kind of bring up from time to time, by Jean-Philippe Senville, who's director of business innovation technology at the Business Development Corporation of Canada. That's just, businesses will wake up to a new reality when the crisis subsides, speaking of the pandemic. And as we kind of lean towards the end of the pandemic now, as certainly in North America, this is very true. Customers have for the past 2 years been forced, in a certain sense, to do business from home, and they are going to expect that to continue, specifically within the businesses that they deal with. In terms of functionality, let's have a look at some of the major areas of what the portal does. First of all, it has a very good click-to-pay, and click-to-pay allows you to embed a link on a document or an email or a PDF, and the customer can simply click on that link. When you send them his invoice, he can click on that link, come to a website, fill in his credit card, and bam, the payment is done. It really is that easy, and I'll start the demo by showing you that functionality as well. Then there's a more full solution where a customer can log in and then transact online. And that will mean many things. We've released an update subsequent to the screenshot being taken here, and I will show you all of that. But it will let your customer view and reprint documents. It will let them pay their accounts line, view orders, view tracking numbers, manage the credit cards if you choose to let them store that online, place orders online, and make prepayments. So it is becoming a very full and rich solution for business online. It includes order entry. We do not put this forward as a replacement for an e-commerce web store, but in certain instances, it is very appropriate to let your customer place orders online, and we'll deal with that a little bit as well. We did design this with simplicity and you in mind, and bear in mind as I go through the portal here, we have every bell and whistle turned on here, and there will be areas which will not be applicable to you. We do have a very strong administrative portal, and so all of these things are under your control. If, for example, you do not want messages popping up, you can simply turn that function off in the administrative portal. Having said that, we do want to stress that it is set and forget. Once the portal is up and running, it is up and running. It does not need daily input. It does not need any attention from you whatsoever. Because its interaction with your Sage 300 is real time, so we're reading data real time out of Sage, we're writing data back real time into Sage. There is no import export, there is no synchronization, there's no function running replicating data up and down. We do not have any data on our servers. The data is literally read real time, and that has several implications. One, it's real time. The customer is looking at the same data you're looking at. You go in, you change an order, the customer looks and he sees the order has changed. There's no time lapse, there's no synchronization, there's no waiting for some function to run. It is real time. The second advantage, of course, is security. We do not have any data on our servers. We have never had a problem. We do monitor our servers 24/7. We do pick up things like denial of service attacks happening on the servers. We do everything we do to counter them. In the event that our servers are breached, there is no data. There's nothing that can be stolen. There's no data to be compromised whatsoever. It is stable. It needs very little attention, even though the portal in this iteration that we're rolling out over the past few months is a new server. The portal has always been a portion or a part of our full e-commerce solution, Webtelligence, and so it is very well tested technology. It has very deep customer portal capabilities. It is very configurable, and the user experience, we believe, is excellent on any device. And so as I go through from time to time, I'll just kind of shrink my screen down to what you'd see on a cell phone, and you'll see that it will work very well on any device. Everything from a full 28-inch monitor on your desktop through to a cell phone and everything in between. The system was designed to run flawlessly regardless of the device that you're running it on. So with all of that said, then let's take a look. And the first thing I'd like to do is just speak to Click-to-Pay. So Click-to-Pay, as I said, is the ability for you to embed a link on a document and send it out. I've mocked up one here in Word, but this could be a PDF, it could be in your email, and so you would send out an email with an invoice attached, and there would be a button that says click here to pay now. The customer would click it, and it will be somewhat like this, and the customer is going to go ahead and click the button, and they will be presented with a payment. As we land on this page, we look at the customer and the invoice number, and we will then verify that this invoice is due and payable. So we will go look this invoice up real time, and we're going to go ahead and process it. You will notice that I've got surcharges in here. The payment options depends on what your provider is going to do, and other options which I'll speak to a little later. And again, I do want to say that if these do not exist or you have not set them up, they will not be here. And so really all the customer has to do at this point, the screen will be presented, they go pay invoice, we're paying invoice number 61, we will refer back to invoice number 61 from time to time. Let's pay this with the Visa, and we're going to go ahead and pay the invoice. And that really is as simple as it could be. So there's now a payment being made, and the customer gets a receipt. The customer can print a copy of a receipt to him. A copy of the receipt is emailed out to the customer. It's emailed out to you as the merchant. Everybody is notified of this. We have created a very cool and deep integration into both Slack and Teams. And if you're not familiar with these are messaging or communication systems internally. And so we will post a notification into both Slack and Teams, notifying the user that there has been a payment made. Let me swing over my teams here and go, and we created a team called Portal AR. Here's our invoice number 61 for that amount there, 2393, which we just paid. And so we are instantly notified of this payment. This is on top of any email notification that you may send out or receive internally. So if you're running either Teams or Slack, and there is a free version of Slack which works just fine, you could literally be notified instantaneously, and that is payments, customer support queries, new user registrations, orders being placed. So any transactional data happening on the portal, you will be notified of immediately. Okay. Right, so this is click to pay. The customer has now been notified. You will see if we try and go back and repay this document again, as I said earlier, we do go ahead and check whether this document is still payable. Remember, we've just paid it, so it now says invoice is not found, check customer and invoice number. We keep this message obscure by design. We want to avoid phishing, so we're not going to say it has been paid already. This message is very generic. It's going to stay generic, and we really do not want to encourage somebody to start typing in numbers and finding some sort of permutation. So this is done instantaneously. This invoice, as I paid it, was entered directly into Sage in the background. And even though Sage 300, as you all know, is a batch processing system, we will check for pending payments so that we're immediately aware of the fact that invoice number 61 has been paid, even though the batch has not been posted. I am running the Sage 300 in the background here, which fronts up that portal that we're looking at. I'm running it here on the Sage Partner Cloud, which is a new offering by Sage, which allows you to run your Sage 300 in a browser. And as you can see here, this is like regular old Sage running in a browser. We can go through, look at the receipt batch, and you will see that my receipt here for invoice number 61 has been posted into a receipt real time. So this data is happening real time. There's no lag. It's been written in. There's nothing for you to import, export, nothing for you to do at day end. You simply post that batch. That batch will be appended to as the day goes on until you flag it either ready to post, or you go ahead and post the batch, and we'll create a new batch automatically. Okay. Let's have a look at the portal then. The portal login screen looks like this. Some components on here. We do leave ample room at the top here for a graphic. We have made it very easy for you to upload graphics into the top area here. And the reason here is that we want to maximize your room for putting a message out or marketing. So you could have a logo with some blah, 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 we're the best to do business with, and don't you just love it, and whatever, and, you know, come summer, you can have a little summary picture and so on. So we, by design, made it possible for you to use the area up here for marketing and making this part of the message that you want to put out. You have control over the marketing message here, over the welcome message. You have control over this message here. Of course, your data at the bottom here, etc. We do have both an English and a French version currently available. And we are happy to work with anybody that would like to produce any other language format that they need. Registration for customers can happen in one of two primary ways. First of all, you can just get the guys to ask you to create a user for them, and you will then email them that login credential all the way through to automatic self-registration. And with self-registration, we ask the user a key question, and if they answer that key question correctly, let me just bring that up. If they answer that key question correctly, we have the ability to give them immediate access. In this case, we're asking them for the zip code, but that could be you know, the last invoice number or the last payment amount that you made, etc. So these are looked up real time from within Sage 300. So as they enter that data, we will verify them and then either allow them or not allow them access based on how you've set up the portal. We do enforce strong password control, so we keep this as secure as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in as a user called Ronald Black. And Ronald Black, as you know, is part of sample data. And the first thing Ronald Black is going to see is potentially one of two messages or both. The first message Ronald Black is going to see here is a message directed at Ronald Black specifically. And this is a comment inside accounts receivable with the type web. So if you add a comment with type web, when Ronald Black logs in, Ronald Black is going to see this message. Again, let's just kind of pop over here. We'll go customers, we'll open this up. As for Ronald Black, see how fast the Sage is? This is cool. Comment, and here is a comment, dear Ronald Black, is type web. So we can have a look at that. Here's the comment which you saw pop up here. So this allows you to communicate one-on-one directly with the client. For whatever reason, happy birthday, Ronald, or your account is in arrear, I'm going to send out Peter to come beat up on you, or whatever the message is that you want to get over to Ronald Black, go ahead and do that. And if Ronald Black on the other end clicks OK, we're going to change the comment type from web to web acknowledged, so that you can see that Ron Black has actually seen and acknowledged the message. So let's go over here and click OK. Another message is going to pop up, and I'll get right back to that, but let's just go OK. Go back here. I'm just going to navigate away from Ron Black and back up here. And you can see that we've now changed the message to web acknowledged, so you know Ronald Black has seen this message. The second message Ronald's going to get here is potentially what we call a broadcast. A broadcast message is set up in administrative services, and you broadcast this out to everybody logging in. So everybody logging into the system is going to get this, and this could be, you know, holiday specials, or we closed between Christmas and New Year, or whatever you want to broadcast out to every user logging into the system. Likewise, when Ronald Black clicks OK, we flag the fact that Ronald Black only has seen that message and he's not going to see that message again. So if we log out now again and just get Ronald to log back in again, Ronald's not going to see any of those messages. He's acknowledged them and off he goes. Inside of the system, we've turned on every possible function that can be turned on. As I said earlier, two factors going to control this. One, what your subscription allows you to do. And then secondly, even within those options, you can turn these things on and off. Customer activity allows the user to just get a snapshot of their account. Your account balance is that, you have 22 open invoices, last invoices, your account, blah, 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 and a 3-year transactional history. And that's their purchases with you. So they're looking at this as their purchase history. Bear in mind that, again, we're reading this data real time. So this is not accumulated data on the web. This is literally data being read out of your Sage 300 system. User can navigate coming back to the home screen and clicking on icons, or you can just simply choose from the menu at the top and where to go. Second one is view transactions. How many transactions do I want to view? Do I want to look at all transactions or open only? Open only are going to be only those transactions with the current balance. So translate that as to what is my current account. Remember invoice number 61, here he is, shows us fully paid because we paid him online. The user can go ahead further and limit at least drill down into what specifically they want to see. Again, these options are available to you. So if you don't charge interest, for example, you can turn that off, and interest not going to be one of the things that the user can drill down to. So you may want to dumb this down to view invoices and view receipts if that is what your business accommodates, and nothing else is going to show up here for the user to drill into. The invoice number 61, we can drill down into invoice number 61. The customer can go ahead and print themselves a copy or a PDF of invoice number 61. And so we've now given self-serve access to the customer for this functionality. We will look at the originating source of this document. And so if you're using, for example, only accounts receivable and issuing invoices through accounts receivable, then we will drill down into accounts receivable and look at those invoices directly there. And we will recognize summary invoices or detailed invoices and show you the appropriate screens based on what is coming out. So this is a detailed invoice coming out of accounts receivable. So we will drill back into what was the originating document for that. For the pharmaceuticals, for example, we did drill into an external system called Framework. So when they drill into an invoice, they get the exact prescription and dosages and everything else that invoice represents. Before we go to pay account, let's just have a look at managed credit cards. We do give you the option, or you have the option to allow your customers to either store a credit card or not. We never store the credit card. We only ever store what's called the token or the GUID of that card. And so that keeps you on the right side of PCI compliance. So if the customer does want to store a card, we have the last 4 digits, the name, the expiry date of that card, and that's what we store. So even should that get hacked or stolen, that would not put you at risk of PCI compliance issues. It would be worthless information to anybody that has that. Also, if you're running an integrated system, and here we are integrated into Paya, you have the option of storing these cards either on the portal, so we will store a record of this GUID or the token, or directly into Sage. And so we've chosen here to store this detail directly into Sage. So if we flip back over here, is Ronald Black, and we go to credit card, there are the 2 credit cards. You'll see that one is expired, the Visa card is expired. The MasterCard has been marked as the default one. So if we look here, that's marked as the default card here. When the customer adds a new card here, we will add it into Sage. So you will see it there. If you add a card in Sage, the customer will be able to see it over here. So these details are being written and written directly into Sage as well. If the customer deletes a card, we'll never delete a card because there might be a transaction have processed. So you've got an authorization, you need to do the capture, whatever the case might be. So when he deletes here, we flag that card as inactive in Sage, so he will not see it here anymore, but you'll still be able to use the card within Sage. Okay, let's go have a look at Pay Account. Pay Account really does pretty much what it says it does. Remember our invoice number 61, it's gone here now. So let's pay the rest of these guys. The user can click. This is sample data, so showing me kind of an unusual set of circumstances. Typically, we don't think there will be these many outstanding invoices, but you can go kind of select all if you want to just settle the account in total. We do allow the customer to just click and see what's on an invoice before they pay that, so they can take a quick look at what they're paying here, and then they can go ahead and make a payment. And based on the options you've set up and what your gateway allows, we will then present them with the necessary options. So we have allowed credit card payment. We can add a new card. We have the option to save that new card if we want to, or we can pay via check or ACH. And this is going to depend on your merchant. North49 has undertaken to add every major merchant in North America to the system. I believe currently we do integrate with probably 8 or 9 already. And if your merchant is not there and it's a major player in the North American market, we will add that merchant for you, and there won't be any charge associated with that. While we're looking at the screen, here is a receipt of what I'm going to pay, but you'll notice a surcharge here. And so we have added the ability to add a surcharge to any transaction. The surcharge is by customer level. The reason we did that is we do understand that there are areas, for example, in California, it is illegal to pass card charges onto the user. So we do want to give you the ability to control that even on a user level. And the surcharge could be specific to a payment type. So I could say I want a surcharge of 2.5% on credit card payments. And could either be a percentage or a fixed amount. So I could also say, I'm going to charge you a fixed transactional fee of $15 if you pay via ACH. So as we click here, if we go change this to ACH, you would see that the surcharge is now changed to $15 rather than a percentage of the amount. Let's go back and select that. So this is a message which you can enter in, and this will be displayed if there is a surcharge. And usually it's called a convenience fee or a processing fee or anything, but we are going to nail you for the charges on the credit card that you're going to be paying with. And that's going to create a surcharge. The surcharge is processed into Sage as an adjustment to the invoice with a distribution code. And so when you post this within accounts receivable, that surcharge is going to go to the general ledger in whatever the distribution code is that you process. So remember our invoice number 61, since that's been paid already, let's just kind of pause and flip over here. Go have a look at receipt entry, and we'll call up that invoice number 61 that we paid earlier. And you will see here that there was an adjustment done of $58 to the invoice amount. So we correctly apply the invoice amount. So we've applied the invoice amount here of 2335, and we then apply the total amount, including the adjustment. If you want to have a look at this adjustment, you can simply go over here, and there is that adjustment. We used a surcharge distribution code, which will go to miscellaneous income, and so the system will know where to post that adjustment as it goes into the general ledger. Okay, so we have spoken a lot here, which kind of makes this seem a little bit daunting, but really, remember, the customer click pay on the previous page, they review this, they're happy, they make a payment again. Because we have the token, we do not have to take them through to the gateway. We can simply present them with a receipt. Again, they do have the option to print a receipt. They will get an email with the receipt. You'll get an email with the receipt. Let me just kind of do this and show you. Here is the email I have just received. No, sorry, Ronald Black has received. This is what you paid. There was the surcharge. There's the total amount of the payment on your MasterCard. Your transaction reference is that. So this was emailed out real time to the customer. And as well as I mentioned earlier, that we do post this into Slack. So if I drag my Slack on here, here is what the user paid, and you will be notified of that immediately. Okay, we've dealt with payment. We've dealt with card storage. The last issue on payment is we've just released the ability to prepay. That is really cool. We're excessively happy with that. And what it does is it allows 3 types of prepayments. These are turned on and off in your portal, so you control, the user does not necessarily see all of this, but we do allow the user to make some sort of a general payment, and they can give amounts. So they can just say, I'm paying a deposit on project number 123, make a payment. That will be an unallocated cash transaction posted into the AR batch. They can make an order prepayment. When they do that, we will literally post this payment against that order. So if we have a look at order number 65, the amount is 1558. So let's go ahead and say we want to prepay that document. And they go ahead and say, make the prepayment. This comes up, presents them with the options, go ahead and pay. And we then flip back and have a look at that was order number 65. Let's go to Sage and have a quick look at order number 65. And here you go. Let's go do that and just find that a little easier. Oh, you know what? Finder. Order number 65. There we go. We have a look at order number 65. We can see that there has been a prepayment made. Okay. So, oh, sorry, did not post through on order number 65 here. I will have to go and check why that didn't happen. So that will post through directly onto order number 65, and you'll be able to see that as you view order number 65. The last prepayment that can be made here is on quotes. So we do allow you to prepay. Now, of course, there is no prepay on a quote within Sage 300. So we will treat it a little different. We still make it a prepayment because folks do allow users to prepay, then turn the quote into an order. They can simply call up the batch and enter the order number, and it will then be a matched prepay. If they choose not to do that, they can still go ahead and make the payment. They can still post the receipt and then manually allocate that receipt after the fact. Again, these will only show up if indeed you've turned them on and which one of these you've turned on within the system. Let's have a look at view orders. Allows the customer to have a look at orders going and the current status. Again, they can show all or open only. Open only will only show those which have not been shipped. We do allow them to track or drill down to active, future, standing, or quotes. We can view by order, which is what we're viewing here, or by item, which is really a back order item list. In any of those circumstances, the user can just do a simple check. So I can go and have a look at a particular document, an order or a quote, and see what's on that order or quote, or I can go ahead and drill down and print myself a copy of that. We do show the status, and we have two options for the status. One, we can simply read them off the Sage data. So we look whether it's been received, on hold, not printed, not shipped, etc., and we will assign a status to it. Or if you have a more complex status that you want to track, so we've received your order, we're busy reviewing it, it's now gone into manufacture, we expect it this day, whatever you want to do, you can use an optional field. And in that optional field, you can put the status or a date or expected date, whatever you want to put in that optional field, and we will show that optional field as the status here, so it allows you to refine the status to the nth degree. You can, of course, drill down. So where a document has been invoiced, you can drill down and have a look at what the invoice details were. And these could potentially be plural, could be more. You can drill down, have a look at the invoice, print yourself a copy of the invoice. If you add the tracking information, you can see the tracking number here. If there were tracking details on the individual item lines, there will be a plus sign here, and you can drill down to the tracking details at a lower level. You can show tracking information right from this inquiry screen. We have also added the ability for you, for example, to deal with quotes. You have the ability on here when you post the document to either post as an invoice or at least as an order or a quote, which you can manipulate or turn on and off. But if you do post a quote, we give you the option to deal with that quote internally. So this is now a scenario where your customer is doing an RFQ. Give me a quote on these items, please. You will receive that. It'll get posted in. Remember, you're getting notified via email, via Slack, via Teams, so you will know that somebody has asked for a quote. You can go and review the quote, approve the quote, and so you will see here two quotes. Quote number 5 is awaiting approval. Quote number 6, or at least quote number 4, with those items in, has been approved, and the customer now has the ability to open this up and turn quote number 4 into an order. So if they're happy, if they've had a look at this quote, and they're happy that this quote has been or is approved, and they want to do that, they can simply go ahead and confirm, and the system is going to post that quote as an order. So we've now generated order number 75. If we hop back here, open up order entry, and we will see that order number 75 has now been generated real-time into the system. By the way, we do track how these documents are generated. So we do flag them, as being generated by the portal. It's an electronic commerce one. So if you want to have a look at orders which were generated on the system, you can simply go in and say the order source equals and make that electronic commerce, and those will be the list of documents that were manually entered onto the system. This one was flagged differently because it was generated from a quote, but you can still track it in looking and seeing that was entered by the portal directly. Okay, back here. I mentioned earlier that the system is going to, and you'll see order number 75 popping up here. Those were the things which were generated from the quote. That it'll run accurately or well, regardless of the equipment. And so if you are running this, for example, on a cell phone, then that'll be the view. These now will become kind of drop downs like this. Our menu at the top has become the familiar hamburger menu. And so you will be able to kind of drill down even into a document and see what's going on here and expand on a particular document. Regardless of the device that you're running on, it is going to work well. Let's go ahead and close off here and look at order entry. Order entry allows the customer to place an order. We do expect this to run on mobile devices, so we kind of do slide things open and close to maximize or optimize space. Again, we do expect this to run across, all devices, so we will do that. We will run this across all devices, and the user can use a cell phone to process an order. And let's have a look at this. Ship to locations comes out of accounts receivable, so whatever ship to locations you generated there, or the user can go ahead and enter a new ship to PO number. Let's go demo Etienne here. Request a delivery date, so I want this dropped on the 20th. Ship via code if you want to open it. This is an option you may turn on and off. Sometimes it's used more internally and you don't want to expose this to the user, but if you do, you can go ahead and expose that field. The comment here would be, ship to me as soon as you can, please. And that then is the header portion. Let's put a address in there and we'll slide that closed. Right, let's deal with adding an item. We do honor all the pricing models within Sage for this customer, so his price is going to show up. You do have the ability to just designate a retail price list and override the customer pricing model, but we will honor all pricing models. We do also remember we do not have any of this data locally. So we go search for it directly out of your system. So we will send a request through and say, give me a list of the items which match the criteria. You can limit the items for a particular customer to only those items on his price list. So if you want to limit the items which you actually sell through the portal, you can go ahead and do that. When we search for an item, we will search the item SKU number, the description, the 4 additional item information lines, and also if you want to turn that on, the customer item information that you have on your system. Remember, within Sage, you can take your item number and give it a specific customer item number for customer Ronald Black. And Ronald Black, when he enters in, can enter in his own item number, and we're still going to find that. We have 3 levels of the detail we show. So let's start by saying I'm looking for a calculator, for example. And we did, from this point, make this keyboard driven. So if the person not running on a cell phone, he can drive it by keyboard. He does not need his mouse to deal with it anymore. So let's call up a calculator. So this calculator, just very quickly, going to drill down, ask me the quantity. I want 10. I can just tab out and be ready for the next search here. We do allow the option to override a price either by the customer. If, for example, he's asking for a quote, and remember, you can turn these on and off, so you do not have to give him those options. And all for salespeople. We do have salespeople functionality, so if I have logged in as a salesperson, I can now override that price. So level 1 is we're going to show no detail. Level 2, let's go by that same calculator again, is we will show the ability to pull up the 4 additional item information lines. So now we're showing a little bit more information for the customer as they purchase it. These are the 4 additional item information lines that come from inventory control in IC, and I want 5 of these. Go ahead and add them. The third level is we do allow you to store images. When you store images, we could either store them locally, so we can store the image on the portal, or you can store them locally. So for example, in Dropbox or OneDrive or on your local system, that makes it very easy for you to manipulate those images. And that will look something like this. Let's go find an item with an image. So we'll purchase the calculator with an image, and we're going to come up and the user is going to see image. We do have the ability to have multiple images, so you can scroll through here. So now we're getting very close to a decent kind of e-commerce system here if you want to do that. Bear in mind, it is a customer portal, so it will not do for a B2C because the guy needs to be registered with you. But certainly if you're in a distribution model or you insist on registration beforehand, this is going to be a reasonably decent system for you to use. Okay, so we've ordered 10, 5, and 1, and we can go ahead and place the order now. When we place the order, this order again is written real time into the system. Remember, 75 was the one we created from the quote, so now we've generated 75. The user can go ahead, print themselves a full copy of this document if they want to do that, PDF it, or whatever they want to do with it. But this document has now been written real time into Sage. So here we're back at Sage. If we go next one, 76, here are our 3 calculators, and we ordered 10, 5, and 1 of them, 10, 5, and 1 of them. Here it is. It tells me that this order was entered by Ronald Black on the portal, and it will now show as entered by electronic commerce. Whether you want to put it on hold or not is an option, so the system will either put it on hold so you can review and release them, or it will just immediately release them for shipping straight away. The order is written real time into the system as we went ahead. Okay, that kind of wraps us up, except of course, you know, there's a contact form. The contact form is going to shoot through directly again via email or by notification. Now, speaking of notification, Ronald placed that order. So within my Teams or Slack, I have now been notified that Ronald Black hasn't placed an order for those 3 items. And so the salespeople are now immediately aware, and I can now say, hey, Peter, please approve here, and hopefully Peter is going to reply and say, okay, I got this, and is going to go ahead and do that. The order number is listed here, so this makes internal communication almost instantaneously. Likewise, on the other side, an order confirmation has been emailed out to both us internally, but also to Ronald Black, showing the details that he has purchased. So the communication certainly is going full steam here. Okay, that wraps up the internal customer-facing portion of the portal. So let's log out. I don't see any questions. If there are any and you want to start typing them real quick before we look at the administration side of it. In the interim, let me go ahead and show you what you have control over, and I will be mindful of time and run through this very quickly, but we'll be happy to answer questions. When I log into the same portal login and the system recognizes me as an administrator, it's going to take me to the admin side of this portal. So it's going to pop this up. The first thing I see here, oh, and by the way, Peter has answered me here. Is that what you meant to prove? So Peter is answering the Slack. So the first thing you're going to see is a snapshot of what's happening on the portal. Remember, we made 3 payments today. To that total amount, it's going to give me the last 6 months here, both in total value, but also in the number of payments that's being made, so that I'll be able to see not only the total of payments being made, but the total amounts being paid over a period of time. It'll show me the logins, either by users or by customers. And there will be this thing called unprocessed receipts. In a Sage 300 world, this should be 0. If this is anything but 0, it should be concerning. It requires some sort of attention, which is why we put it on the front page here, because we are writing the transaction directly into Sage. But it could be that for some reason Sage went down, or the connection went down, or the internet went down, or something happened, and that was not processed. You can go ahead and reprocess them, and they'll push them back into Sage for you. As I say, this should be 0. This is intended for ERP systems where we do not have a direct integration for payment processing, and there will be an import and export and import function here. Let's move on. For customers, we can look at users or the broadcast. Let's go there first. Remember, we saw this broadcast message. We can put active dates on it, inactive, reset the connection, etc. We'll have a look at users. Users allows you control over users. And here you can search for users, so you can find somebody, you can deactivate them if you want to, you can create a new user, you can edit or modify a user. Because we use strong password control, you cannot see the password. You can change it and let him know, but you cannot see the password that the user has entered. The user, of course, does have the ability to change his own password as well. You can create user types, a user, a merchant, which will be an admin user, or a salesperson. The salesperson is a user with unique properties in that as they log into the portal, the system will ask them, who do you want to deal with? Give them a lookup of their customers, and that could be only their customers where they are a salesperson, or it could be a global access, in other words, a master user who can access all accounts. This will allow you to have a look at users. Receipts allows you to look at and troubleshoot receipt. Remember, we made 3 receipts today. So Ronald Black paid invoice number 61. Yeah, always get invoice number 61 here. It will give us the status, etc. Ronald Black also paid this whole list of documents here. Remember, we did that. And then finally, we had this payment of invoice number 65 from Ronald Black. Okay, no surcharge was charged on that because it was a prepayment made. Otherwise, the document is going to show up as we expect it to show up here, with the amount, the surcharge attached to it, this total surcharge at the end of this. This allows you to also look up a document. So you can look up, a document which contains, I don't know, 62 in it, and go and filter this down. And we're going to get all the document 62s, which were paid by the system. And of course, Ronald Black today included a payment for document number 62, and that's going to show up here. So really a powerful troubleshooting scenario here. If for some reason a document was not processed, this flag will be off. And that is what you'll see if you were on the home screen here. The system is going to show you, it just needs to do an update here. It's going to show you this, and you can say process. It'll bring you through here, and you can hit the process button. It will try and reinsert that document for you. Let's have a look at portal settings. Welcome registration. Control how you want users to register. Remember our easy upload, so I can just go ahead and upload a new document here if I want to, or a new image. Our default language that we want as the user accesses. When the user chooses the language, we'll drop a cookie on his machine if he allows that, and so that'll become his default language the next time he visits, but you can designate the default. Your company information, so your address, etc. Your welcome message, hello, welcome to the portal, and whatever you want to type in here. If you have multilingual, then just type the 2 languages on top of each other over here. Features and functions, I keep on misclicking here. Remember, I said you can control features and functions. So if you do not want pop-up messages and you happen to be using, the category web in AR already, just turn that off here. As you turn them off, they won't appear. Prepayments, where do you want to allow prepayments on? So if you only want to have sort of unallocated, just turn the other two off and they won't appear. Where do you want to store your credit cards, etc.? How would you like order status in the view? Do you want us to calculate it, or do you want to have an optional field called order status? The document display, if you do not want to show refunds, debit notes, etc., just turn them off over here. And then your domain name. And we recommend that you do a subdomain of your domain. We have full instructions on how you go ahead and do that. You can enter that, and it'll be something like, portal or customer or login, .mydomain.com or whatever you want to do here. And that's going to then change the domain. So if you create a subdomain on your website and you have a login button, it will take you to portalmydomain.com. So the customer still sees that they're on your domain. It adds a level of security for them that they're not being ripped off. Payment processing, let's just go there very quickly. You have the ability to max payment via credit card. Be aware that in certain states that's not legal unless you're a certain business type. Do you want to allow partial payments, allow the customer to override the payment amount? You can do that. We strongly advise you don't, because some sucker is going to pay 1 penny short, and then you're going to have to reconcile issue adjustments, and it's going to take a phone call. So really what we do is we say, let the customer know to resolve any issues they have beforehand, and then you will do the adjustment. They can come ahead and pay that. There's a message here you can type in, which will appear on the payment screen. So here you can say, if you disagree with an amount, please contact us, whatever. Remember the distribution code for surcharges and the message if there are surcharges. This is your payment processing information, where we are going to link you to when a payment gets entered or made online. Connect setup. We run a service called Connect on your desktop, on your system. It's a web service, and that allows us access into your system. You can control that over here. Notifications, we spoke about that. So there's technical notifications. That's us letting you know something went wrong, please help. We cannot communicate with your system, so you're aware if there's any problems with your portal immediately. You can add Slack. Remember, we said you can add Slack or Teams. You can turn those functions on and off. Really simple to do that. So if I want to let my technical guys know that there's an issue and I want them to be notified via Slack, I can simply come in here and we will guide you through the setup. Which Slack channel do you want that in? You go ahead and allow, and it'll generate what's called a webhook. You copy that webhook in here and your Slack channel is now generated. Likewise with Teams. With Teams, you just generate this webhook in Teams, come paste it in here, and we're done. We'll notify technical contact, AR contact for user approved payment made, order entry contact for any new orders processed, the contact us form, together with an immediate feedback. So if somebody posts a, hey, please help, you will respond to them. They will get an immediate response here. And then there are customer notifications. So this is notification to the AR customer in accounts receivable, not the user, because remember, you can have multiple users on one AR account. So this will notify the customer based on the email address in your AR record in Sage 300 that a new user has been approved and that an order has been created, and you can turn those on and off as you see fit. And I think that takeover order entry, I'm not going to spend too much time. This allows us to modify order entry. What's your default location for shipping? Do you want to default price list or use the customer prices? Allow only selling unit to measure, all blah, blah, blah. Takes it all the way through down to, do you want to show item details? Yes or no? Where do you want to put your pictures and so forth? And so that kind of wraps that up. I'll take a breather here and ask if there are any questions. Please feel free to type them into the either the Q&A or the chat, and I'll be happy to deal with them right now. While we're waiting for that, we are creating a database where we will have a frequently asked and how to. The manual will go online. And it will essentially replace this help. It will be an online resource. But we do have help here for how to install Connect in your internal system, detailed with pictures. You can download a copy or an update of Connect. We have a how-to with firewall settings, and we have a test connection. If you're running a firewall, we need to have pinhole access through that. And of course, we have a contact us here. You have a portal administrator, so you can look at your account or change your password. Your account will be, if your account is held directly with us, then of course this is your account with North49. If your account is going to be held by Sage or some third party or dealer, then this will not give you any detail. That will be held by that company internally. And I think that wraps it up. I believe Peter does have a slide here which is going to close us off. Let's just do this. Oh, I have to start all over. That's here we go. Here are the costs in both US and Canadian. It is $1,400 annual license fee or subscription fee. We do consume a Sage license, just so that you know that. Any interacting with your Sage goes through the Sage's SDK technology, so that when we post an order, we're not going to corrupt your system. So we do consume a Sage license while your server is running. Just be aware of that. The customer portal is that much, and there are only 2 add-on options. You can add online payments, which will give you click to pay, stored cards, everything else goes with that. And you can optionally add order entry, and that's going to give you all the order entry functionality. There's a one-time $175 or 200 Canadian setup fee for us. And we do require a static IP address because our communication with you is IP to IP. And I believe that closes us off. So if there are any information you still want, we have our toll-free number up here if you want to note that down, and we have the email solutions@north49.com. Again, my name is Etienne Krobler. Peter did ask me to take over the session. You're welcome to contact me direct. My name is Etienne or my email is etienne@north49.com. I am the primary product architect, so if you're happy, please contact me. If it doesn't do something you wanted to do, please contact Peter. Just kidding. Please contact me. And of course, Peter will help you with sales-related issues as well. So don't see any questions coming through. I do want to thank you very much for attending the session, and I hope your day goes famously. Thank you very much, and have a good day.